Keisha.
I'm with the Coalition to Defend Affirmative Action, Integration, Immigrant Rights, and Fight for Equality by Any Means Necessary, or BAMN. And I am here because I am one of those protesters at the Regents meeting last April who did not get arrested, although there were 8 people who were arrested. I wanted to say that while more and more people in this nation, especially the youth and students, are fighting for equality and justice, the University of Michigan has become even more privatized, continues to close its doors to minority students, undocumented students, and poor working class students, and still refuses to expel rapists on campus. And that we've been fighting on this campus against the cover-up of rape and sexual assault and for an increase in minority enrollment, and to make U of M a sanctuary campus for undocumented students. And that last semester, we staged a protest at the Regents meeting where we peacefully protested against that privatization and against the exclusion of minority enrollment, minority students, and that the Regents, and that instead of listening to these demands that were posited to them many times from many different people and many different organizations on this campus, Mark Schlissel, E. Royster Harper, and other members of the administration, as well as the Regents, responded with police repression of our protests and violence against us as protesters, where the university police were so close to me that I could see the university end on their guns. After brutalizing us, they arrested 8 protesters, gave them no trespass warnings, and charged one other protester afterward. And 2 of these protesters who were arrested, Jose Alvarenga and Justin Chong, are undocumented immigrants from Honduras and China, respectively. Now the university is going through with charges against them that could lead to their deportation. So I'm wondering how you're going to say here that that this university is trying to do things when, you have, I've seen on the very posters for this event, diversity means standing with undocumented students, and yet the meager $450,000 tuition fund that you have for undocumented students, you're thinking is not even going to be around next semester, and you continue, you raise up minority enrollment, which you could have been doing at any time in the past 10 years, this is the lowest that it's been since 1970, and you raise it up by 58 students. And these are things that can be reversed, and there are also things that can be increased monumentally. So I'm wondering why we continue to do these small, incremental changes that are supposed to appease the people on this campus who are angry and who are tired. And why there's not been a single movement yet, and not been a single resolution, not a single actual action that has passed to actually make a change that is sustainable, substantial, and that you can't go back on. So that's what I have to say.
Well, thank you very much.
Hello, my name is Tyler Wood. I'm with BAM2, the Coalition to Defend Affirmative Action, Integration, Immigrant Rights, and Fight for Equality by Any Means Necessary, BAM. My question is, why, this is for Schlissel, who's not answering any questions, he's sitting down in his seat. Why?
You will hear from him again later.
Oh, okay. Well, why, thank you. Why are you pursuing charges against the Regents meeting protesters who forced you to increase minority enrollment by a small amount? Obviously, that's not genuine because you're continuing to force us off this campus, and all 9 protesters have stay-away orders from campus, and like Keisha said, are using the threat of deportation against our undocumented activists. That is outrageous and unacceptable.
My name is Kate Stenvig. I'm organizer with BAM, and I've been organizing on this campus for a long time, and this year is not only the first time there's been an increase in minority enrollment in 10 years, it's actually the first time that there hasn't been a drop. And still, even with that, minority enrollment here is still 1/3 what it was when I was a freshman here. And I want to make clear that that drop started before Prop 2 passed, before there was a ban on affirmative action. That was the university doing that. And this university has known for all those years exactly what to do to increase those numbers. And we've been demanding, if they forgot, we've been demanding specific things. On-site admissions in Detroit high schools, like U of M used to do. Something like the Texas 10% plan that could be implemented in Michigan that's far more democratic and has integrated UT Austin. These are all things that students have demanded. And I don't think the problem is that the university doesn't know how to do it. I think the problem has been a lack of will. And last year, with an increase in student action, that the student movement imposed its will on the administration. And that's what has to keep happening here. I want to say one other thing about what happened at the Regents meeting last year. This university has been, I don't know if people know this university has been chartering or governing, a governing board of U of M runs the Detroit School of Performing Arts. And there's a student there, Markeith Jones, who spoke on a panel here last year, a week before that Regents meeting, criticizing the university for cutting programs and for its role in trying to destroy that school. And a week later, he's targeted for arrest. He's 16 years old, and he was arrested and is being charged by this university for standing up for his education and for his fellow students. And this university needs to get its hands out of DSA if it's not going to provide resources. Why would you be partnered with the University of Michigan if you're not going to gain anything from it? This is the 8th richest university in the country, and they're cutting programs at a Detroit high school. And the only performing arts school in the city where the district is threatened to be completely shut down now. This university has to start acting like a public university, and we know that's only going to happen with the leadership of students. That's always been true, students in the community. So we want to invite anyone here who wants to be part of that to come to our public tribunal on November 19th at 7 o'clock. It's going to be at the Friends Meeting House on Hill Street, and so we can talk about a real plan of action to move forward. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yes, sir.
Hi, my name is Chris Wassung. I'm an undergraduate student. I just want to start off by saying that 9 a.m. is a really awful time to try and get undergrads to come out to anything, and I'm actually missing class right now.
I hear you, brother. It's even worse for grad
that.
students. Especially seniors. Anyway, go ahead.
So this is an interesting question. I'll have to rephrase what I'm going to say to fit it. But in 2025, as other people have said, I really don't care about 2025. I care about 2016. I care about 2015. In the future, I mean, how can you expect student enrollment, minority student enrollment, and socioeconomic diversity to increase when every single year tuition gets increased? And we see tens of millions spent on building projects constantly. I don't know if anybody's seen the new grad student housing, but there's massive plasma screens in everyone's room. I don't know how that helps anyone's education. It doesn't help mine. There's high-rises being built. The rent for those is like $1,000 a month. I don't know how a working-class student is expected to afford to live here. I don't know if anybody noticed the people outside, the caterers. They're all students. They're making around $10 an hour. You have to work about 40 hours a week on top of classes, being a full-time student, to be able to afford rent here. I know most people in the administration are making 6 figures, so it just seems to me that there has to be a lot of economics changes in order for there to be real diversity, both in socioeconomic and racially. So, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Hi, my name is Carrie Wiles. I'm a sophomore here at the university, and I would just like to point out a glaring truth to me that the an organization that does a lot of work here on campus, that really cares about diversity a lot, the By Any Means Necessary BAM organization, was not allowed to attend this diversity summit today. And in fact, a student at the University of Michigan, a senior here, and various other members of BAM have to go to court for the 3rd time on Friday. They're fighting a case that's relevant to they tried to shut down the Regents meeting last spring peacefully, but their charges really should be dropped. They didn't do anything wrong, and they're not welcome here in this summit today.
Hi, my name is Chelsea, and I'm an undergraduate student here studying computer science, and I just wanted to talk about how actions speak louder than words. I believe that the climate on campus how the percentage or like how diverse the campus is a result of how we are reaching these students. Because if you really truly want a diverse campus, then it's not that hard to achieve. I believe that by actually actively seeking these students, going to Detroit, going to these different neighborhoods and actively seeking these students, actively telling them about the University of Michigan, because there are amazing students in the area, in Detroit, in the Metro Detroit area, that are actively able to come here. And the university has its entire power to be able to grant them admission, but the fact is that that isn't happening. And if you really want to change how this campus is, then it's not hard. If you want these students, go get them, because they're waiting, and they'll just go somewhere else if they can.
Thank you very much. Well, what do you think of what you've heard today, sir?
Well, I think I've heard a lot of honesty. I think I've heard a lot of subterranean anger and discomfort. I think I've heard a lot of ambition, a lot of shared interests in trying to make the university a place we can be increasingly proud of, and people wanting us to live up to our highest ideals.
Well, you heard some students here today saying they feel either personally not included or that some groups don't feel included in having a voice here on campus.
And
How
they're
do you respond to
arrested
that?
too.
So who's that?
Some students were arrested and being charged by the president too.
Some students were arrested and charged by the president, too. We've been talking about the future here, but how do you respond to that?
Yeah, I really can't talk about arresting and charging students with a court case going on and the like. Many of us were there in the room when this episode happened.
Well, the last student just mentioned about what can be so hard about going out and finding diversity. You're right next to Detroit, for Pete's sake. Ypsilanti, Flint, etc. What is so hard about it?
Well, the challenge is I share with that student the notion that all communities around the state have students that are talented enough and willing to work hard enough to be successful at the University of Michigan. The challenge is identifying them and finding in a milieu of a public educational system which in many instances has let down our students, our rising generation, and circumstances where advantages aren't uniformly distributed by a long shot. How do we identify students that can succeed in an environment that really aspires to academic excellence? I don't think it's true that you can walk down any street and take a random person from any community, the wealthiest or the least wealthy, bring them here to the University of Michigan and they'll be successful. I don't think that's the case. So how do we reach out and identify students across the full spectrum of society, recognizing that each individual has had different advantages and different disadvantages and different challenges to meet. In these communities will be people who are going to be successful. We have to identify them and bring them here, and not just bring them here, but support them when they're here.
Indeed. Well, as a closing shot here, what is your vision for the next 10 years?
Well, I'm going to disappoint people because it's more than a 10-year vision. Because I think although I'm as anxious as the folks that say they're ready for 2015 and 2016, I think the challenges we face as a society, not just on campus, but all through our society, are going to require each of us to make a continuous and ongoing commitment to change. Not be satisfied with incremental steps, but realize that the challenges we face will probably take the rest of our lifetimes, but that doesn't mean that we don't push as hard as we can every day, every year as well.